Hello. Okay, so this day, I think it's 321. Yeah, 321. Day 321. I thought it was December 21st, but it's actually December 22nd. I thought it was me like, oh, cool, it's 321 on December 21st, but it's not. So, JK. Cool. So, had a big day today. I ended up doing this 8-hour long event with one of my favorite coaches that I adore, and there was just a lot of things that came up, a lot of contemplative stuff, and then I just had my client call for my money program, and now I'm here live and I'm here with you. And there's just something interesting that came up during this this day of a lot of contemplations, a lot about thoughts and thinking of things, and thinking a lot about what's been going on in my mind for the past 24 hours. Just past 24 hours, as things are coming into my world and things are changing, and there's all this sort of movement happening. And there was just this moment that I started to reflect on, because about when we think of our worst case scenario. So I think a lot of us do this, where we think of what's the worst that can happen. And we do this, we will say we do this, okay, to prepare ourselves so that we can embrace it, and just in case it does happen, so that we can mentally, emotionally, be prepared. And I'm okay, yeah, that can be a way that why we think of worst case scenarios. But I was thinking about this. I'm what if we go deeper than that? What if we go deeper than this, sense of preparation? What does this preparation really do? And it's you prepare for it because it gives you something to do, right? And it's it gives you something to do, and it gives you this idea that you are controlling the situation. Because not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing how a conversation is going to go, or what's going to happen at a certain event, or what's going to happen when you launch certain things, or when you accept a proposal, not knowing what's going to happen is uncomfortable for us. It's uncomfortable because we don't know. And this whole idea of not knowing, we want to know. We want to know where we are going, what we are doing. But thing is that if we knew where we were going and what we were doing all times, and knew the outcome of everything, would that actually be an enjoyable life? If you really know how every outcome, conversation, decision you make, if you know the outcome of every single one of that, know exactly how it's going to play out, what's going to happen, who's going to say what, then is that really fun? Right? Because then everything just becomes predictable. Everything just becomes predictable, becomes the same. There's no excitement. There's no something new, because you know what's going to happen. And so that's basically an extreme perception of it. But I was just kind of thinking of this idea that we just want to control everything. And I know I've been in this journey of letting go of control, letting go of the steering wheel, letting go of what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And doesn't mean that it doesn't show up for me. It shows up, and I've been learning a lot about it. And one thing I've realized today was all these worst case scenarios, I was trying to figure out where did they come from. Where do these worst case scenarios come from? Because sometimes they do come from past evidence. They do come from, somewhere in the past where, something bad happened when, and therefore I created evidence. I created this kind of point in time where I was just because this happened this way, next time I do this, I need to avoid it so that it doesn't happen again. And you've done it too. Every time something doesn't go the way you desire it to go, you make a mental note and you're like, okay, because it's like this, then next time it'll also be like this. And so when it's like, when there's evidence, that's easy. It's easy, like, in what I'm saying, it's easy. It's easy in the sense of, like, rewiring your thought process, because it's like, well, that's not true. Like, because the person that you were then is not the same person you are now. So how do you know it's actually going to be the same outcome? And also, like, the person, like, if it was, like, dealing with a situation that involves someone else or something else, it's not the same individual. It's not the same company. It's not the same client. It's someone different, and everybody's different. So why would that duplicate? Why would it happen again when the previous, it wasn't, you're not the same person you were 5 years ago, you're not the same person you were yesterday, and this other person is not the same. And so the part of the evidence of that we create in our mind, so that we come up with these worst case scenarios because it happened in the past, that's easy. That's easy to unwrap. But today what I realize is that I create scenarios in my head, but I don't actually have any past evidence of any of it. It's never happened. So why am I creating these scenarios in my mind? Why, like, am I coming up with this? And I've stumped myself, to be honest, because I don't know. I don't know why I create a scenario in my head of something that's never happened before, and I make it up. And it's not even happening. It hasn't happened. Made it up to prepare myself for the worst case, to give me a sense of control. But if it's never happened in the past, then why is it in my mind? Why has this app been planted? And the only thing I can maybe think of is maybe like using someone else's evidence that doesn't belong to me, that it's happened to other people, and I've seen it happen to other people. And as somebody who's an empath and I can feel emotions, like maybe it could have been that. I witnessed that. I witnessed someone experience this sort of situation. I felt how they felt in that moment. And maybe that's like the evidence I planted. That's the only thing I can really think of. Like, why am I creating this scenario that's never happened ever before in my life and putting it out to the universe? And so I guess like the deeper question is like, what am I truly afraid of? Why am I afraid of it happening if it never happened? So it's kind of where I'm at in this like sense of like, just like really just trying to like unwrap this element. And it could be a number of different things. I don't know why we create situations in our heads and scenarios that never happen. I don't know why we, like, if they've never happened before, like, I don't know why we create all these narratives, but we've taken them in from somewhere. Because in the true essence of ourselves, they don't belong to us. They don't belong to you. They don't belong to me. There's no evidence. There's no evidence from the past of it happening. The only evidence that could happen is if like a similar pain and a similar hurt from a different experience, a different situation, and afraid of it kind of feeling that way again. But then the scenario is completely different. Food for thought. Things I just like to contemplate. So I'm going to leave it at this for today, just because it's like a little bit on the deeper side of things, the deeper topics. If you do like this kind of conversations and want to continue having this, like, let me know. I love talking about this kind of stuff and just like really contemplating and just, yeah, just like thinking and seeing what pops up. So that's it. Okay. I am gonna let you guys go. I'll speak to you all tomorrow at some point. I have another big day, driving the whole day, and then I have a dinner, so probably be an evening call, or maybe if I have time between the driving and the dinner, I'll try and hop on there. So yeah, talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.